Tonight on Politics HQ, we'll discuss the push for state police as governors of Oyo, Ondo, and Rivers affirm their stance on decentralizing law enforcement during the 64th Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association. Also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of Adeola Ajayi as the Director General of the Department of State Services (DSS). Ajayi replaces Yusuf Bichi, who was appointed by former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2018. Our focus tonight will be on the operations of the DSS and its change of leadership. We'll also consider the idea of state police in the country. I am Dakbo Adigboyi. Let's get some answers. The governors of Oyo, Ondo, and Rivers States on Monday, speaking at the 64th Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, restated their belief in the decentralization of the police by the creation of state police. But the governor of Jigawa State, Umar Namadi, called for caution in its adoption. A case for state police is efficiency. That is, the state will manage the forces much better than the federal government. However, for some experts, efficiency is not a function of what tier of government controls the police. It's about how the police organize themselves and their operations. It's about professionalism and sophistication. Well, my guest tonight on this topic is Olufemi Lawson, is the SSA Public Enlightenment to the Governor of Ondo State. Olufemi, thank you for your time.
Good evening, Dr. Thank you for having me.
And of course, great to have you again on the program. Now, let me start off with the question. What is your idea of the state police initiative, being, of course, proposed? Is Nigeria ripe for such?
Well, thank you once again. I think for me, this question of if Nigeria is ripe to operate the state policing system or not, have been answered on a number of times. The truth is that if you look at the enormosity of our security challenge as a country, if you look at what is confronting us as local and internal security issues today, you realize that Nigeria is overripe for the state policing system because one of the major issues of insecurity today is the lack of intelligence in our approach to addressing the security challenges. A lot of times we have erroneously believed that it's going to be by the number of tanks, arms, and ammunition that the country is able to procure that we can tackle our security challenges. But if you want to invest in the war of intelligence, if you want to invest or tackle insecurity rather through intelligence, then there's no way you will not talk about the state policing system, because that is the only avenue where you can have a police system that deals mainly with its operation through local intelligence gathering, the use of the locals, as operatives, and that is one sure way of addressing the security challenges in any society. But if we have to rely on the central police in a situation whereby you have to bring a divisional police officer, for instance, maybe from Zamfara State to Alausa in Ikeja, he barely understands the terrain, and he's also working with policemen who are from other parts of the country, maybe except for few, maybe from Lagos. Then you have to deal with the issue of language, understanding the communities in the context of who is from which of these communities, and how do we identify crimes before they are perpetrated easily. Would that, and also has to do with command. Today, as little as you may want to call the position of the divisional police officer in a local police station in your community, even the governor, as powerful as he is in your state, have no power to appoint or redeploy such persons until there are directives from superior authorities, at least the commissioner of police, who also takes directives from Abuja, where the police is centrally coordinated. So Nigeria is overripe for it, not only because of our maturity as a democracy, but because of the enormosity of our security challenges, we now requires investing in local intelligence and of course intelligence gathering to tackle this war.
I mean, I'm going to stay with you on the aspect of intelligence because I noticed that in the course of your analysis, you kept making reference to intelligence gathering. But some experts would also tell you that you can leverage technology on, for that, and not necessarily the tier of government that controls, the security architecture of the state. So, I mean, don't you also think that technology can also serve in that aspect to ensure that sufficient, intelligence is gathered and even surveillance?
Well, look, technology is key, in addressing security challenges, but the most important tool required is not even technology. When you have a system where citizens are actively involved in, addressing security challenges, when citizens are actually involved in, providing intelligence, providing information ahead of time in tackling, crimes and criminality, it becomes more effective than the deployment of technology. How do you deploy technology in a system where, a country that is not so technologically advanced like ours? How do you effectively deploy technology to unravel security challenges in communities that many do not have access to technological infrastructures? For now, I think it is more effective for us to engage the citizens who are mainly going to form the bulk of those that are going to be employed into the state police. It becomes more effective using them to source, most importantly, like I keep reiterating, intelligence, because a lot of times we respond to security challenges, we don't prevent it. We must work towards a system where we prevent insecurity, we prevent criminality. And that may not be enough for what technology can be used to address. One way to prevent crime, or the most effective way to prevent crime, is to invest in intelligence, to invest in information gathering, and the people are the most reliable source of information gathering and intelligence gathering in any society.
All right. Now, you also made reference to the fact that state police would allow individuals who are, resident or familiar with the terrain of that particular region, to be in charge. They understand the terrain, they understand the culture, the lifestyle, the language of the persons. Hence, according to you, security will be better enhanced. But again, does that, replace strong work ethics on the job? And I'm talking about being incorruptible, integrity, being, standing firm when it comes to issues, that involves you compromising. Does that replace an individual who, might not even be from that area, but has really strong work ethics, particularly when it comes to the job?
Well, you see, having a strong work ethic a lot of time has to do with our laws, the culture of discipline, which is mostly lacking in most circumstances, in our public sector governance, the culture of discipline, and of course, the recourse to effectively using our laws for the operations, not only of the security agencies, but other sectors of our life as Nigerians. But one benefit that the state police may also give is the fact that, we are cultural people, we are mostly a society of religious and morally, upright people. And let me give you an instance. I want to believe that we may have more disciplined, morally upright, men and officers in the police force when, if for instance, as a policeman, you are deployed into the local security units of your area in Alausa, where you reside, I'm very sure it becomes very difficult and a moral burden for you to begin to demand bribe from a woman who lives maybe on the next street to you, whom you have grown up to know as a mother in the area, or from a child who was raised in your presence, and because he has issue with the police. So the question of morality will set in. A lot of these people will be restricted, by the virtue of the fact that you are known, your mother is known, your father is known. You barely want to, like in our culture, destroy your family's name. Then you want to be upright in the job. You cannot compare that to a man who comes from maybe some 400, 500 kilometers away to your community to be a policeman, who doesn't give a damn about how you feel about his moral life, who you don't know his upbringing, his parents, or where he's coming from. So it may be, another avenue of addressing the moral deficiencies that has characterized some of the operations of our security agencies in the country today.
So you strongly believe that it will address the moral deficiencies of the Nigerian police force?
A lot.
All right, let's also talk about another major concern concerning this particular proposal, and that's abuse of power, by state governors. I want to believe that this, of course, is even a major issue, as regards pushing and ensuring that this gets to implementation stage. Some experts are of the opinion that some, governors might use it as a tool to go after their political opponents, particularly during probably the election season. What's your take?
Well, that argument is always one of the major arguments that have been advanced by antagonists of the creation of state police in Nigeria over the years. The question is, in this country, has there not been times where even the central government have used the police as an institution against even members of the same political parties where the president, is from? We have seen it in the past, where even the president have used the police against, members of his own political party. But the merits, outweigh the question of when elections are conducted and what governors may.
Olufemi Lawson, are you there? I understand we have a bit of connectivity issues with Olufemi Lawson, but we'll definitely get him back. Okay, I understand he's back. We lost you for a moment. Mr. Lawson.
Oh, like I was saying, the benefit outweighs, the question of how governors may likely use, the state police. We have seen state government, even locally, funding the federal police, across, states of the federation, and have not in any way abused it. If it were to be something that we should be afraid of, really, Lagos State should be one of the states where, you would have assumed that the governor can, abuse his power by using the police against political opponents and some other places, because the Lagos State invests a lot into the security, architecture of the state by providing support.
Let's say, if I'm to follow, your line of thought, Lagos is just one out of the 36 states. There are some states where we understand that the political pressure and tension there is pretty stiff. And from antecedents, we've seen that if certain, maybe governors, had access to the security architecture directly, you and I know what exactly could have snowballed. You said, yes, the benefit outweighs the disadvantages, but this is a major disadvantage. You would not want to have a situation of an emperor within a state, an armed emperor. So how do we ensure that many of these governors don't use the security architecture within the state to their own personal advantage?
If the state police is going to be created, it's not going to be by an executive order or by declaration by the governor. It's going to be a creation of the law, and that is where our role as citizens, as a media, as citizens, as stakeholders, even as politicians, as the case may be, political parties, becomes important. In the creation of state police, this will be created only by, the enabling laws, which would involve the input of stakeholders, the legal practitioners, the media, the civil society, the political parties, as the case may be. So it is not what is going to be created on the whims and caprices of the governor. So all these factors must be considered, would have been considered in the establishing laws that would lead to the creation of the state police, to the extent that it would define the power, even of the governor. Today, there are powers that beyond appointment of the inspector general and some other decisions that the president, even as powerful as he is, cannot unilaterally take without resorting to the National Security Council, without referring to the Council of State, or without referring to the National Assembly, even on the federal police. So the case will also be applicable when we are talking about the establishment of state police. Let me give you an instance. Today, the Amotekun Corps is becoming a success story in the Southwest. And I'm very sure that except for very few instances that has involved some very few personnel of the Amotekun Corps. These Amotekun Corps are also armed. They operate across the state of the Southwest except for Lagos. And today, there have not been report of abuse. Are there no political opponents? Are there no, in this state where Amotekun operates? In Ondo State today, Amotekun is doing fantastically well, controlled by the state. But in any way, there has not been any time that even political opponents have raised issue about abuse of power by the governor or the command or people who control this corps across the state, about using them to suppress political opponents or even harass citizens. In the other way, it has always been the states taking decisive action in a way it could not take against police when the citizens are harassed, that the state could easily decisively deal with operatives of Amotekun today because the state is in control. But we have instances of right abuse, right violation by the police where governors do not even have a say about how such perpetrators are disciplined. So for me, the enabling laws will define the powers of the governor to control the state police when eventually established.
All right. Let me take your reaction on something that the legal icon did say at a recent event, talking about the National Conference of the NBA, and I'm talking of the person of Femi Falana. I'll read his words as an excerpt of some of the things he said, and I'll just like your reaction to it. He said, "I think the argument is already settled," talking about state police. Maybe apart from the IGP, nobody today is opposed to state police. No serious Nigerian. We now know the selfish consideration of the police, that if we have a state police today, all the money being given to us will now be gone. But sir, I think the governors, you must help us. You have federal road safety, they carry guns, the NDLEA, EFCC, they bear arms, prisons, all of them bear arms. I challenge the federal government. Let me stop there. What do you make of that?
Just like, every one of us have agreed that the time is right because the federal government has so much of these forces under its control, and it has proven that it is not even enough to address the security challenges. That means there's a missing link, and that missing link is the need for us to localize the policing system. Without localizing it through the creation of state police, we may not have, an easy way out of our security challenges, and that is why virtually everybody has agreed. Today, the state police commands are creating community policing units across, the various states because of the realization of the fact that you must localize and decentralize the policing system. And that is why I think even the president has made his commitment. He has made statements in this regard on several occasions on the need for us to go through this route. And I don't think the opposition by the IGP may be enough to discourage this idea, which I think the time is now.
Why do you think the IGP, for instance, might want to discourage this idea?
Well, of course, just like same opinion that has been advanced, it's not the incumbent IGP alone that has raised concern about the state police idea. The previous leadership of the police force have raised similar concerns. Their concerns may be valid to the extent of how they have seen some of our state governors abuse power or try to even abuse the state command of the federal police in the past. to their own advantage. But like I said, now we must consider the popular opinion. The IGP or the police hierarchy must look at how it can be of help in providing guidance, in supporting with the enabling, laws, and of course every other things that may be required to ensure an efficient local policing system, rather than continuously insisting that the time is not now for us as a country.
All right. Another issue is the training many of these officers get. Many Nigerians, have actually even raised eyebrow as regards the kind of civil training, an average police officer, receives, particularly when they interface with citizens. How do you think this will impact on the quality of officers being recruited?
Training people for the police job must not be seen as a regular, process that it has always been. The policing system, like I said, has gone beyond the capacity to procure arms and ammunition. In the past, the police institution looks so much like, an institution that just trains people on how to use arms and ammunition without so much recourse to how to tackle insecurity through relations, through respect, even for the law itself. So in moving towards a state policing system, we must look at all the deficiencies of this, of the federal police that we have had over the years and take lessons from it. I've seen other paramilitary organizations that have been created over the time. For instance, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. You realize that we have had lesser issue of, they also bear arms like the police. We've had lesser issues of, right violation, confrontation with citizens, the disagreement, like we have had with the police almost every day in this country. It means something is being done at that leadership and recruitment level, to the extent that these people know their limits as operatives of the Civil Defense Corps, as operatives of the NDLEA, as operatives of the Federal Road Safety Corps. This is one area that the police, especially the state police, will have to invest in, that beyond training people on how to bear arms, on how to, use arms and ammunition, use the tanks. Most importantly, there must be deliberate effort and training policemen on intelligence gathering, on human rights. Because when you see a police unit that respects the rights of citizens, there's every tendency that you have a police force that will be supported by the citizens. Because if the citizens do not trust the police because of hostilities that arises mostly from violation of their rights, then they don't give their support. The police works this way and it still works the other way. But when you have a police that is trained to observe the rights of the citizens, who are going to be the main source of intelligence gathering to support the works of the police, you realize that we have a fantastic police force that will effectively tackle local security challenges in the society.
Okay, now Femi, of course, before we, wrap up on this, another issue has to do with the funding. Number one, the capacity of states to be able to sustain funding this police force. And many have even said that should these police units be funded directly by the state, or should there be a central pool, that automatically pays their salaries, to avoid a situation where maybe the governor has absolute control and can say, you know what, if you don't do my bidding, you won't get paid. So how do you suggest that the funding of the state police, proposal is sustainable and allows for some level of accountability in the discharge of their operations?
The security sector is a major component of any society, particularly any society that is interested in even in economic prosperity. You can only talk about economic prosperity, wealth creation, or whatever you want to call it, if the society is secured. So there must be deliberate, approach to fund the system by the state. Today, we have state governors who receive security votes. We have states governors who invest so much in supporting even the federal police. Like I said, only recently in Ondo State, the government gave out, a number of vehicles to support not just the police and other military and paramilitary organizations in the state. The state pays regularly the salary of members of the Amotekun Corps, and there are some other agencies that are responsible for security. In Lagos, like I said, there's a trust fund already created to support the security institutions in Lagos. So there are numerous ways that the state can get the adequate funding to ensure the smooth running of the state police. And one of it must be inculcating the funding into the annual appropriation, the budget of every state that is interested. This will vary in capacity because there will be those with capacities to recruit more than the others. So it is going to be a priority of the state to fund it, because it is only when they have a secure society that you can be talking of economic prosperity in any state.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Olufemi Lawson, the SSA on Public Enlightenment to the Governor of Ondo State. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.